get over the phones right now because it's absolutely a thrill for me because if you look at my nightstand right now, it is piled with books, and all of them have one author's name on them at this point. It's Lee Child. I've got 6 of them sitting there in a row, and I'm pouring through them as quickly as I can because I can't put them down. The Jack Reacher books, for those who are familiar. If not, get familiar and get familiar soon. Lee Child on the line with us. Lee, good morning.
Good morning. That sounds like a great nightstand. Not sure that I want to see it personally, but it's really nice to hear about it.
I was going to say, Lee, a couple of more. You may owe me a new nightstand. This thing's starting to get a little rickety on one side.
Yeah, well, I'm going to keep working every year. We'll break it soon.
Well, excellent. See, now that's one thing fans want to know, too, and a couple asked me, there's a couple of questions from fans who wanted me to ask you this. First off, any plan at all for slowing down or stopping with Jack Reacher?
Not yet, and the thing is, that is up to the fans. It's a question of if they're still reading, if they're still enjoying it, then I'm going to keep on writing them. It's the same as you guys. You've got a great audience there. You're not going to stop while they're still into it.
Well, we don't know really if they're into it or not, but we have nowhere else to go, really. So at this point, we're going to keep doing it. We're glad you're going to keep doing the Jack Reacher.
The same for me. There's no other jobs I could do.
Now, that's the interesting part about your story, Lee, is you had quite a career going in television, and then I guess at the time it probably seemed like the worst thing, but the best thing happened to you.
Yeah, it did seem like the worst thing. I mean, I had it was a great job, just loved it, until one day my boss said something to me that made it just impossible to continue. He said, "You're fired." I had 40, my 40th birthday was coming right up, and that was not a great time to be out of work. On the other hand, maybe it is. It's kind of the last time, you've got experience, plus you still got energy. Maybe this is the time that you can make a change. And so I did. I thought I'll regret it the rest of my life if I don't try it. So I just went for it, and I thought at the beginning I could do a couple of books before they found me out. But here we are with book number 19, and I'm starting to think, hey, maybe I'll never need to get another job.
It would appear that you're probably well set with this one. Now I'd read that you went out and you bought yourself some paper, you bought yourself some pencils, and you sat down and you went at it. Do you still write that way? Do you write longhand?
Not anymore, no. I did it that way because I did not have a computer at that point, and I wanted to emphasize to myself that this was not a hobby. It was not like about going out to buy the gear. I had to earn it. And so I did the first one in pencil, and then when that sold, I bought a computer, and now I do it all on the computer, which is really, a lot more efficient in the end.
Lee Child with us, #1 New York Times bestseller, the Jack Reacher series, and the new one is Personal. So you've written a whole bunch of the Jack Reacher books, and you can tell us the truth because it's just the two of us and a couple of thousand listeners and then everyone else who listens later on online. When you finish, when you turn it in, when you're ready to go to print, do you feel each one of those books is the best you've done?
I think that it's the best I can do that year. I'm not going to turn it in if I'm dissatisfied with it, and I feel that I've delivered a good product. I'm not in any way doubtful about it. It's up to the reader to say, is it the best of the lot or what? I mean, I think some of them I'm very happy with. This one I'm happy with mainly because it was fun to write. It was a lot of fun to write, which is something that is rare, 19th time out. But I had a ball doing it. I remember kind of laughing a couple of times at some of the lines and some of the scenarios. And I felt good about it, yeah. The basic thing for me is I go back to what my old dad used to say. He was a reader, but a working guy, not much time, and so he would choose very carefully because this was the only book he was going to get to, maybe that month or whatever. And I would say to him, what are you looking for? And he said, I want the same but different. And that's what I aim to give. Obviously, it's kind of the same. It's got Reacher in it. Reacher's going to have a problem, and probably Reacher's going to solve the problem. But everything else can be different. So for this one, for Personal, I thought, let's give the old guy some glamour. So he goes to, he starts out in Arkansas, which is relatively not glamorous, but then he goes to Paris, France. He goes to London, England. It's a whole different environment for him.
Yeah, that really, well, when a guy only carries a portable toothbrush with him, it's not really by that much to pack, though, is it, Lee?
No, packing is real easy. No checked baggage, that's for sure.
That's one of the things about the character I've always enjoyed. You know, Reacher has to get his stuff ready to go, so whatever he has bought and thrown into a bag, he's got that as far as clothing goes, and then a toothbrush that goes into his pocket, and he's ready to hit the road. Are you like that when you travel?
I try to be as close to that as I possibly can, absolutely. I'm going to hit the road on Thursday in support of this book, and I'm going to I just bought some new T-shirts that will disappear at the rate of one a day along the road. And, yes, pretty much that's what I do.
Yeah, my favorite is in one of the books, Reacher's wearing some, designer suits made for his brother that as he goes through, he just ends up wadding them up and throwing them in the trash when he's done wearing them and moves on to something else. And I thought, that right there indicates a single man. My wife would brain me for something like that.
Exactly. I mean, it's all part of the fantasy. If we could get away with it, that's what we would do, right?
Absolutely. We're talking with Lee Child, a new book, Personal, Jack Reacher. You got to read all of the books. Now, it isn't necessary. You will decide, of course, Lee, if it's necessary to read them all in order. I wouldn't think so. I am reading them in order because I like to read them the way you wrote them.
Sure. Some people prefer to do that, to watch. It's really about my chronological development, not Reacher's. But really, the books are set up so that you can dive in any place. You could start with Personal, and you will understand everything in the book. It's all explained. You don't need to have read earlier books. Then you can go back and read the paperbacks. You can start any place. I think that was very important. I didn't want to give people kind of anxiety in the bookstore when they figure out, well, which one should I start with?
Speaking of anxiety, let's talk about the movie a little bit. When the movie announcement came out, Jack Reacher, a lot of us who were fans were just thrilled beyond belief. And then the word came out, Tom Cruise has taken the role of Jack Reacher. For those who read the books, the physical differences are fairly enormous between the two. However, I think Tom Cruise pulled it off very, very well in the movie. What's your take on it?
I would echo exactly what you just said. I mean, we all knew from the beginning that it was going to be a hurdle because Tom does not look like Reacher in the books. He's a different-looking guy completely. And in as much as Reacher's size is important, then he was not going to supply that part of the character. But we wanted an actor good enough to show the inside, the vibe, the spirit, the feel. And he's a good enough actor that he can put all that there on the screen. I felt weird for the first few minutes, and then I bought into it. And I think that most readers did the same thing.
Now, do we have another few in the pipeline?
Movies?
Yes.
Well, they're talking about doing a sequel next year. So, I think that's going to happen.
Now, I got to ask, when they do the movie, how much on-set time do you log? Or is it basically, hey, they sent you the check for the rights and you wait for the movie to come out like everyone else?
Well, legally it's like that. Legally, contractually, I got no say at all. And actually, I don't want to say because I think people should just get on with what they're good at without me watching over their shoulder. But they are all Reacher fans. They're doing these movies because they like the character. And so I'm included on a kind of unofficial basis. Last time I got a permanent invitation, and I think I visited 4 separate times. I was in the movie in a little cameo. The whole thing was very collective and very much fun, and I expect the same thing will happen again, and I'm kind of looking forward to it. It's a good piece of variety for me.
Lee Child with us, #1 New York Times bestseller, the Jack Reacher series. The brand new one is Personal. You can find that everywhere, and his website's leechild.com. It's Riley and Scott on WROK, by the way. Lee, you mentioned, I think your dad had, limited time to try to fit a book in between other a busy life. You lead a busy life, too, just getting out your books. But in your downtime, in your free time, who do you like to read?
I read pretty much anybody and everything. I mean, I think that's common amongst writers, that we start out huge readers and we remain huge readers. And I'm much more of a reader than a writer, and I will read absolutely everything. Right now I'm reading a book. It's called The History of Rock and Roll in 10 Songs. And just before that, I read a book that comes out next month called 400 Things Cops Know. Just anything I will read. I have a great time with it.
LeeChild.com is where you want to go to visit to find out. Well, you get a look at. I'm looking at the bookshelf right now. It looks basically like my nightstand, only a little neater right here. You can find out all of the books. And by the way, Lee, I see that Jack Reacher gear coming soon.
we keep trying to think about that, but to go back to what we said earlier, he doesn't have any gear. We kind of limited ourselves.
I was going to say a 4X T-shirt and a couple of toothbrushes. You got yourself a gear store then.
Exactly. We had a T-shirt that said "Reacher said nothing." Line in the book.
I love that.
I think that one would sell well.
I'd buy that one. Lee Child, thanks a lot for taking time out of your day. You're one of my absolute favorite authors. Love everything that you write, and I hope a bunch of people run out and buy the books as well.
Thank you very much, and have a great day.
You too.
Thanks, Lee.
All right.